Welcome back, Truth Seeker. Want to talk about what's in the news this morning, Monday, November 18th, 2019, the 322nd day of the year. One of CNN's top stories and other news outlets carrying it on the top just as well. Minnesota Twins prospect Ryan Costello found dead in New Zealand. And he was reportedly found dead the morning of November 18th, the 322nd day of the year. And now keep in mind, he was a prospect for the Minnesota Twins, who were once the Washington Senators, the old Washington, D.C. team, the last team to play in a championship in D.C. since the Washington Nationals, who just won the 115th World Series. And if you weren't following my work on my last channel that was deleted, we talked about how before the postseason began, how the Astros and the Nationals had been getting these skull and bones tributes during the season, and how the Astros and Nationals looked destined to meet in the World Series. And we also talked about why it looked like the Nationals would win the World Series as well, which they did. And all throughout the season, especially if you follow on Patreon, we tracked these riddles with the Houston Astros and the Texas Rangers and the death of George Herbert Walker Bush, who was a member of Skull and Bones 322. So now on the 322nd day of the year, you get this death of a young baseball player that's clearly a ritual for the World Series and the Nationals who won it. Let's go through this. So again, he's dead November 18th, the 322nd day of the year, the day leaving 43 days left in the year. Notice he just arrived in New Zealand to play for this team, the Auckland Tuatara. And notice how the Gematria of Auckland Tuatara is 149 and 41, just like Skull and Bones, the exact same. And what did we document at the end of the national season? At the end of the national season, and I put this out for free before the game was played, I said, watch how the Nationals win their game tonight. It's the manager, Dave Martinez. Notice it says 321 games played. That means he was coming in to play his 322nd game on September 27th against the Cleveland Indians, and he was on 149 losses. And we said, oh, this is an easy-to-see Skull and Bones ritual. He'll stay on 149 losses in his 322nd game, which is exactly what he did. Plus, they were playing the Cleveland Indians. And once upon a time, Senator Prescott Bush, before he was a senator, when he was a young man at Skull and Bones, this is the father of George Herbert Walker Bush, the story is that while he was at Yale, he stole Geronimo's skull for the Skull and Bones collection. And again, the Nationals were playing the Cleveland Indians. So we went back and we looked and we said, look at that. Geronimo died on February 17th, the 48th day of the year. He died 223 days from the date of this game. 223 is the 48th prime. Cleveland equals 48. And the Nationals were going for their 48th home win that day, which they got. And that was a date with a life lesson number of 48. This was, the pregame. The Nationals came into the game 47 and 31. They got their 48th win that day. Again, it was the manager's 322nd game. He stayed on 149 losses. And again, these numbers come together so often, from movies to the Mueller trial to this. Again and again, same numbers get paired together. And this whole season, again, it was synced up with the death of George Herbert Walker Bush, number 41, who was a member of Skull and Bones. Now you get the death of this baseball player, Auckland Tuatara, 149 and 41. As for November 18th, being the day that leaves 43 days left in the year as well, his name Costello, the player who was found dead. Notice his name's 115-43. He's dead after the 115th World Series. Killing's 115-43. Masonics 115-43. Yale's 43. Again, George W. Bush, the son of H.W., was the 43rd president, also a member of Skull and Bones. When he ran for re-election, he ran against John Kerry, who was a member of Skull and Bones. The election of W came down to Florida. Florida equals 43. His brother was the governor then, the 43rd governor of Florida. They put a shot in there. Ryan Costello, he played for the Fort Myers Miracle before he went down to play for the Auckland Tuatara. But they put in this shot, if you go to the CNN story, and they give you a game where the score was 7-4. Masonic killing also 74. Anyway, Ryan Costello, a prospect in the Minnesota Twins organization, was found dead in New Zealand at age 23. Costello had arrived in Auckland last week to play his first season with the Auckland Tuatara team in the Australian Baseball League. In a news release, the Tuatara said preliminary indications suggest he died of natural causes. What are natural causes when you're 23 years old and an athlete? Notice the post at 1:39 a.m. This story is breaking news, so it's just coming up on mlheavy.com. 139 Freemasonry's 139, the Bavarian Illuminati's 139. But that team Tuatara, notice Tuatara is 82 and 107. Washington Nationals is 82 and 107. The World Series concluded October 30th, 19 days before his death. Tuatara is also 19. It's 2019. He died in New Zealand. New Zealand equals 105, like Nationals equals 105. But when the Nationals won the World Series in Game 7, they picked up their 105th win of the season, which was part of the reason we liked the Nationals to beat the Astros. We saw two things, that the Nationals could get the 105th win to win it all, and if the Astros were beat, they'd pick up their 57th loss in the postseason. World Series equals 57. Nationals also equals 57. And Trump ended up meeting with the Nationals on the day leaving 57 days left in the year, November 4th. And they met at 1:15 local. Remember, 1:15 for the 115th World Series. Meeting with the president. So everyone puts out their tweets today, all the teams connected to him, November 18th. And when I saw this right here, I said, wow, he was from Connecticut. He was from Wethersfield, Connecticut, which is just right outside New Haven, where Yale Skull and Bones is located. Look at that, 33.7 miles away. Amazing, isn't it? Amazing. Stuff is sick. The word miracle has gematria of 34 like murder as well. Played for the Miracle team as well in Fort Myers. And I didn't even take the time to decode a lot of the extra details. But something else that jumped out is his name, Ryan Costello, 159 and 165, just like Scottish Rite. And remember what happened the day of Game 7. You had Mike D'Antoni of the Houston Rockets facing the Washington Wizards. So Houston and D.C. were playing each other the day of Game 7 of the World Series. Mike D'Antoni got his 631st win in that game, which is the 115th prime. Mike D'Antoni's 115. Shout out to C Hands, who caught that before the game was played, so we were all up on that, watching that as well. And in that game, insane game. I mean, look at the score. In 4 quarters, a score of 159 to 158. So we pointed this out, how the Rockets scored 159 and how in Game 7 the Nationals threw exactly 159 pitches. And now you get the death of this baseball player, Ryan Costello, whose name's 159. And remember, the whole thing was synced up with Donald Trump, the whole World Series. Something else we talked about before it was played. Notice Nationals is 138. The World Series ended 138 days after Donald Trump's birthday. Donald Trump's 138, also 159. Dave Martinez, the manager of the Nationals, 138. His name's 57, like Nationals as well, so perfect name to manage the Nationals. Don't forget the day of Game 7, you had the death of Ron Fairley, former Montreal Expo, the old Nationals team. The Montreal Expos became the Nationals. But again, all the numbers we talked about, all the numbers that allowed us to predict the World Series before it happened and the right outcome, found in this man's death. And remember the deaths of the umpires, too. The umpires that died, they had the same numbers encoded in their names. Let me see if I can pull it up right here. So you had two umpires die during the time of the 115th World Series. You had a 52-year-old and a 63-year-old. 52 plus 63 is 115. The second of which to die was umpire Chuck Merriweather, dead at 63, Major League 63, Major League Baseball 63. The name Chuck Merriweather, 235 and 82, like Washington Nationals. Umpires 82. And the Nationals advanced over St. Louis, the one city in the league that sums to 115 to get to the 115th World Series. And Chuck Merriweather, he died 118 days after his birthday. George Herbert Walker Bush, 118. And I must have linked the other death. Yeah, here's Eric Cooper. He was the first umpire to die. Cooper equals 72, like Major League Baseball. He died on the day leaving 72 days left in the year. He died on the 293rd day of the year, which was the 62nd prime number. Sacrifice 62, Eric Cooper 62. We talked about how Game 7 was scheduled for the day leaving 62 days left in the year. Nationals won that game 6-2. And look at this. Houston, Texas is also 62 where it ended. But his full name, Eric Richard Cooper, 105 like Nationals, like New Zealand's 105. And now you're reading about a dead baseball player in New Zealand who again played for the Minnesota Twins Farm League team, where the Minnesota Twins used to be the Washington Senators, the last team to host a baseball championship in D.C. prior to the Nationals. And the name Eric Cooper is also 107 like Washington Nationals, just like how we saw Tuatara's 107. Today's baseball player was playing for the Auckland Tuatara. And when Cooper died, he died 307 days after his birthday. That's the 63rd prime. Again, Major League Baseball, 63. Days later, you get the death of a 63-year-old umpire, Chuck Merriweather. And 2 years ago, these guys officiated on the same crew. And by the way, this umpire right here, Eric Cooper, who died, the last action he did for the MLB was officiating the Yankees and Minnesota Twins series. And as soon as that series concluded, he died. Minnesota Twins. You know, connections to the DC team. And they said this player who just died today, he was drafted by the Seattle Mariners, Washington State, Washington, D.C. Seattle, the one city that sums to 19, dead in 2019, 19 days after the World Series concludes. Tuatara 19. So everything that we talked about leading up to the World Series, all the exact numbers we pointed out, you know, you now find them in the latest detail of the latest death. I just always think, like, how don't billions of people know about Gematria from all that we've proven over the years? All the correct predictions, I mean, how doesn't the whole English-speaking world know about this knowledge? In the age of the internet, viral, I mean, it's just amazing to me. So I did a video yesterday on the Colin Kaepernick 32 ritual that was the, you know, staged workout and FU to the league. So Stephen A. Smith comes out and he calls Colin Kaepernick a martyr. You know, Stephen A. Smith, this little puppet, one of these people that legitimizes rig sports. Maybe that's what we need to do. Maybe we all need to go stand outside ESPN studios and demand they let us on to talk about Gematria. Let's debate Stephen A. Smith about if it's all a rigged show or if it's legitimate, like how he makes it out to be every single day. But anyway, he comes out and calls him a martyr. And if you missed the video we did yesterday on this, again, here, CNN put it best. So we're waiting for the 32 owners, the 32 teams. Roger Goodell, all of them to stop running, said the 32-year-old. So, you know, I mean, all the mainstream were sure to emphasize the 32. And again, the NFL has 32 teams. NFL equals 32. It calls itself America's game, America's 32. American football is credited to the Scottish Rite Freemason Walter Camp, who went to Yale and who was likely a member of Skull and Bones. Scottish 322. Don't forget the Alex Smith ritual last year in Washington, D.C. on the 322nd day of the year, 1 year ago today. He had J.J. Watt on top of him with a 322 birthday, March 22nd. But anyway, this whole Colin Kaepernick thing, giant 32 ritual, and then you get Stephen A. Smith coming out, calling Kaepernick a martyr, which equals 32. And then you got Jay-Z even coming out saying he's disappointed. And that's interesting because Jay-Z has Fred Hampton's birthday and Colin Kaepernick's been wearing the Fred Hampton t-shirt. So if you saw Stephen A. Smith, it's just obvious that somebody told him to say, Stephen, just go out there and do your little spiel, you know, run your mouth for a little bit, and then at the end just say that he wants to be a martyr. You know, it's obvious that that's how it works, and then everyone gets out there and emphasizes the martyr headline. It doesn't even really make sense. I mean, no, he's just another guy that wants fame and money and to be somebody's puppet. That's who Colin Kaepernick is. I'm seeing how they emphasize process up here. What do you think process equals? 7 plus 9 plus 6 plus 3 plus 5 plus 1 plus 1. That's what it is. Look at this. The process. Whoops. 32. Ah, man. That's the Fox News headline right there. And again, if you're new here, there are 4 base ciphers. You want to know all 4, but for the entire time, we've always talked about this as the most important cipher. If you could just have one cipher, this is the one you need right here. It's the same one where martyr's 32. It's the same one where America's 32. It's the same one where Scottish is 32. The only one that doesn't fit in there is NFL. That's with the alphabetic order. So, hilarious. And I guess yesterday there was another mass shooting in the news. You get a lot of these weekend stories. Somebody sneaks into a party, shoots and kills the people there, and then they can't find the suspect. There's no motive. And in a lot of these stories, most people don't follow the headlines, but there's probably been at least 10 stories like this in the past year. A weekend party shooting that doesn't get a lot of headline traffic. But we have another one from this weekend. Supposedly a party of Asian people was shot up, and they talk about one of the people who died, Xyy Lee. He was a Hmong singer, and this happened yesterday, November 17th. Remember, November 17th, whoops, looks like I forgot to put it up there. November 17th is the day that leaves, whoops, I need 17. November 17th leaves 44 days left in the year, and that's the big shooting number. I've always said if you just want to go through and circle all your 44 dates in the calendar using your numerology and dates with 44 connections, you're going to see how often shootings are reported on those dates. And shootings 44, kill is 44 and 17. It was the 17th of the month, the day leaving 44 days left in the year. They said it was a party of Asians that was shot up. Asians 44 and 17. This happened in California. Of course, on November 14th, you had the high school shooting on the date with 44 numerology, and it was blamed on a young Asian man. They said he was 16 years old. They said the shooting lasted 16 seconds. The name of the high school was Saugus, which equals 16. And I think these stories are very much connected. You know, they said his name was Xyy Lee, which sums to 33. Again, number that's encoded in shootings all the time. Just like them reporting that the high school shooting lasted 16 seconds. When you write out 16, it equals 33 and 96. Look at the name of this man who died. Xyy Lee, 3396, Fresno, California, 96. And, you know, it's hard to say what's really going on here. I mean, just read it. Xyy Lee was a well-known Hmong singer who was killed in a backyard shooting in Fresno, California on November 17th. The shooting left 4 dead. Again, they always love to repeat that, 4 and dead. From the east, 4 is associated with death because in Mandarin and in Japanese, you pronounce the word 4 the same as you pronounce the word death. 4 dead and at least 6 injured, according to early reports following the incident. 4 and 6, chaos 46. Ordo ab Cal 46, order out of chaos. The incident took place on Sunday evening when 1 or more gunmen snuck into a backyard party and opened fire. The motive and number of suspects has not yet been established by authorities. According to Michael Reed, a deputy chief of the Fresno Police Department, all of the victims from the shooting were Asian men between 25 and 30. So, familiar numbers. Lee's death was confirmed by a family member on Sunday evening. Also, yesterday had 67 date numerology. Blood sacrifice, human sacrifice, both 67. Another number that shows up a lot. That's the 19th prime. Chaos is also 19. The high school shooting was on a date with 19 numerology. But yeah, those are the key points there, Truth Seeker. Appreciate those of you who found the live stream. If you got here late, I'll wrap it up now. You can watch it from the beginning. What's up, Jeremy? We'll leave it there. Till next time.